So I think one of the things that's missing in this whole big definition even of all the opportunity space is when you're thinking about where to start, I think it is important to engage the people who are going to be impacted by the transformation and ask them what they think the future should look like, because sometimes that's missing and then you miss a whole load of context.
The technology seems to be rolled out at a rapid pace. It's how you use the technology, why you use it, and getting buy-in to use it. And a lot of the time, I think from a lot of the research that seems to be out there, if you're pushing stuff out without explaining the value that it can bring, then there's potential resistance. And that kind of gets to the cultural element, that when culture is pushed top down, there's no buy-in at the bottom level, right? So you need to kind of get the purpose, the mission, the vision of not only the individual teams, but at the entire organizational level, and the core values that organizations have connected all the way through this golden thread idea, so that everybody's bought into it. Everybody then will enable, and empower the transition that is happening. But transition or transformation equals change, and at the core, people have to adopt the change, have to go along with the change, and I think that's really what it's all about.
Because the environment might change, the markets might change, lots of those things might change, but the chances are the values, the fundamental values people have, the fundamental values that your citizens, your customers, business communities have, are probably quite resilient. And those are the things maybe to start looking at. We generally don't tend to build vision and strategy around those things, but that is something that we're starting to do as a local authority. And I just think there's probably a good lesson there for a lot of other sectors as well.
For Microsoft, and I don't think they're finished on that journey, but they have been navigating the terrain, I think, very well, and they've done incredibly well so far. It definitely started with the change of strategy and direction, and I suppose a little bit back to what both Antonio and Julianne were saying, there was a little bit on the values in terms of what they wanted to do as a company, but then there was a little bit on the value that they're creating and where was that value. And I think what they saw was that there was a kind of a reducing value in kind of selling software licenses per person per head, because that was just kind of a commodity now, and they were moving into this idea of creating a platform with services, as software as a service, and saw that, and that whole value discussion completely changed how the whole organization operated. And it started at the heart of Microsoft. Microsoft at its heart is a developer organization. So, the transformation happened there first, actually, in terms of how the developers were building the products and services. And it kind of preceded the transformation of the rest of the company. And actually, more recently, if you hear a lot about what they're talking about collaboration and breaking down silos and, breaking through this idea.
Stage there is a trade-off, though. We can't do everything for everyone. There's also a cost budget to the likes of a Cork County Council. So how do you make those decisions to know who decides what's most important? Is that value more important than the budget?